In a world enamored by Hollywood, its celebrities, their paradigms and ideals, is this where it's at? Join me each week as we discover the deeper meaning, an alternate spark to Hollywood's love, paparazzi, relationships, and empowerment. Yes, my friend, I am sparked by Hollywood. Welcome to the Sparked by Hollywood show. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, singer and songwriter. Welcome, Mendel Goldman.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So to preface this interview with some context, every one of my Sparked by Hollywood episodes are sparked by Hollywood. They're either sparked by something in the celebrity world or some messaging that they put out, and therefore it sparks the conversation. So when we think of entertainment in Hollywood, there's really no shortage of actors, actresses, singers, each really with their own style and core messages and really a core target audience. And when we think of the music that's produced, some of the music in Hollywood, they're catchy songs, some of them are somber songs, some are provocative, others are inspirational, and some are meant to be empowering. And of course, empowering messages definitely sound differently to different people, and they mean differently to whoever the audience is. But when I shift to your music, Mendel, when I listen to your song after song, and then I like to pause to listen to your lyrics, because sometimes I just want to take it in and I'm like, wait, did I get that word right? I really want to get the message. What I hear is genuine inspiration. What I hear are words that are really coming from the heart, and therefore it really resonated with me. So to start off, please tell my audience a little bit about you and what music means to you.
I've been doing music for a very, very long time. Since I was about 6 years old, I started learning piano, and I always loved to sing. And as I grew older, I started getting an interest in writing music, and I studied under a couple different people in order to hone that skill. And what I'm about really, I guess, is just honesty. Like you said, all the inspiration from my songs comes from either something that happened to me or something that happened to someone that I know who then related the incident to me or related a feeling to me. And that's how these songs come about.
So it sounds from a moment of inspiration, you come up with lyrics and a tune
There's
and
a
put it
very
together.
famous saying. There's a pretty famous saying that gets told to every writer at some point in their lives: write what you know. And that's what I really try to do. I try to write what I know. I'm not trying to portray myself as anything that I'm not, and I'm writing about what I know because there's a lot of people who have gone through similar things, and the things that I try to sing about, the things that I try to talk about are very human experience.
Very human and very real. And I find that there are things that everyone can relate to on some level. So can you give us some examples of some of your songs of what was the reason or what kind of triggered you to write a song about specific things?
Well, there's a bunch. For example, my song Angels was written for my special needs brother's wedding. He got married a number of years ago. So that song was written for that occasion, and it was all about him. And Letter to My Grandma was written after my grandfather had been stuck in bed because of Alzheimer's for 7 years, and my grandmother had taken care of him, and she barely ever left the house. And after he died, it was kind of a, where do you go next?
Okay, I kind of gleaned that from that song. I didn't understand the full background of the story, but I figured. I listened to it a few times to understand. It was definitely a heartfelt letter to your grandmother. And how do you pick up from here? How did she respond when she first heard that song?
I was very nervous for her response, but she loved it. She is one of my biggest supporters. She came out. I did a show in Manhattan a couple months ago. She came out, was standing in the front.
I love that.
She's the best.
Puppies are the best, aren't they?
Yes.
Amazing. And how did your brother and sister-in-law respond to the song that you wrote for them?
My brother loves it. He goes around telling everybody that his brother wrote a song, that it's his song, and every time I see him, he brings it up.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, we also did a little video about the song for the Meaningful Minute Instagram page.
Yes.
So he was very excited to have that many views on his video.
That's beautiful. And I saw that you said during that interview that your favorite song that you wrote was the song Angels that you wrote for your brother.
Definitely one of my favorites.
one of your favorites.
Absolutely one of my, well, every song that I write is my favorite. Whichever one is my favorite song, the one that I'm working on right now.
Mm,
That's my favorite song of mine
yeah,
currently.
that's the one that you connect to at that time for sure. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on my podcast is because you wrote a beautiful song to your daughter. And as a mom myself and a daughter, I read the lyrics and it just touched me to my core because such a potent message to give to one's child. I mean, how old is your daughter now?
She just turned a year a couple weeks ago.
Right. So she's not really understanding the lyrics per se, but you gave her a gift in a
I
box, in
hope
a
so.
beautiful box that she can just open up throughout her life and just apply these messages to whatever stage she's in.
That is the hope, you know. My family tends to cringe a little bit at my, I would say, my internet persona.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it's not something that makes her cringe in the years to come, but
Mm.
it definitely, you know, that I don't think I've ever been as emotional writing a song.
So when did you write
It
the
was
song?
very,
When your wife was pregnant or after your daughter was born?
I wrote the song 2 months ago.
Mm.
So it was a very quick process. I always knew that I wanted to write a song for her, but it took a while for all these feelings to sink in. And I had considered writing something before she was born,
Mm-hmm.
but I tried and nothing really felt right.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to put it on hold until I could, you know, really feel what I was writing
Yeah.
and I knew what I was writing about. And after spending a year with her, I knew what I wanted to say to
Mm-hmm.
her.
Kind of like your soul speaking to her soul.
Yeah. See, I
Yeah.
can barely even talk about it without tearing up.
Well, that's beautiful. That's a dad speaking, and it's really potent words. Part of your lyrics, it says, "Live only to please yourself, and you'll be all right." I mean, such an empowering message. You know, when we talk about words of empowerment in songs, especially if we counter it to the Hollywood world of their so-called, you know, for the most part, they try to be empowering, but they have different kinds of empowerment messages. And people take it and they listen to it, and it's playing in the background, on the radio, in stores, in their home, in their ears, and it's sinking in, whatever those messages are. Are they empowering? Maybe, maybe to some, maybe not. But when I look at these words and I see live to please yourself, make sure that you're okay before pleasing others, before reaching out to others. So, what made you choose those words? Was there anything behind it, or just kind of rolled off from your soul to hers onto your paper?
Well, you know, I see it a lot within, I guess, the Jewish community is really what I'm exposed to, but also on social media, online, everything you see is everyone trying to be people pleasers nowadays. And,
Yeah.
you know, I have to make sure that my parents are happy with me. I have to make sure that my friends are happy with me. I have to make sure that my siblings are happy with me. I have to make sure everyone is happy with me at all times because
Mm,
God forbid somebody gets a little bit upset at me. And that ends up being to the detriment of our own mental health, our own, you know, happiness overall. You know, I see it a lot within my own family, people not doing things that would make them happy because they're worried about what other people are going to think, what other people are
hmm.
going to say, and they're worried about how other people would react to them doing that. And,
Right.
you know, one of the main things that I wanted to impart on my child is that the only thing that you have to do for me is make yourself happy.
Beautiful.
As long as you're doing what you need to do to make yourself happy, your life is going to be fine.
Yeah.
That's a very important message that I don't think is said very often.
I was going to say, do you feel that that message has to be imparted more to our children in our society?
I definitely think so. I think more often than not, parents are telling their children, "You need to live your life to make me happy." My father has a joke he repeats. I brought you into this world, and I can take you out. And my father says it every once in a while, but in a very very loving way. So when my dad says it, it's he's joking around with either me or my brothers. But I feel like a lot of parents do have this kind of mentality of I brought you into this world, therefore you owe me. And that leads to a lot of negative, first of all, negative relationships between child and parents.
Hmm.
And but also what it does is it creates a child that is unable to think about themselves, and that affects them not only in their own life. It affects their future relationships with spouses. It affects their relationships with their children, because when
Absolutely.
you're unable to take a moment to yourself, you end up being a martyr. And when you get that martyrdom, you kind of just lose yourself. Losing yourself is something that has been talked a lot about, and when you lose yourself, that's not very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a really potent message coming from someone who's a dad, and you've got a journey ahead of you raising your daughter. And not only, I think when people look at the term raising, it's like, I'm the dad, I'm the mom, and I'm raising you. But it's actually a journey together, and allowing them to show us what is their inner shine that's shining throughout their life. And we can guide them, but we get to see something special coming from them, emanating from them. All right. My next question was, what does it mean for you to be a dad? What does it mean to you? Because you're at the beginning of your journey, and I don't think we can give anyone more credit or less credit, regardless of how many kids they
Oh
have.
no,
But
absolutely give my wife more credit, 100%. Not even a question.
absolutely, I appreciate that. But if in terms of the role of dad, in terms of love, your obligation to your daughter, in terms of safety for her, in terms of commitment, what does that all mean to you?
It definitely means a lot, and there's a lot of different little things that mean a lot. So we kind of have the work split up between my wife and myself pretty clearly. Like, we have pretty clearly defined roles we do, and it's generally my job to get her up in the morning and get her when she's up. I'm getting her out of her crib, and I'm giving her her morning bottle, and I take her on her walk to daycare, and we get that alone time, and it's really, really very nice. She's a very fun baby. She
Oh,
requires a lot of energy.
yeah.
She requires a lot of energy, but she's a lot of fun, and it means I get to watch her grow. I get to watch her become her own person, and I get to watch her figure out what she likes in life, and I get to guide her and show her, different really cool things that we have here. It's,
Mm,
there's a lot of very interesting things about this world that we live in, and there's a lot of different paths you can choose for your own life. And
absolutely.
I definitely feel like my role as a father is to be a guide and not really steer her on the path, but kind of illuminate the path, be her headlights, sort of.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I want to talk about your song, Faith. I absolutely love the lyrics. I won't hide my face. I will not give up on you, not today. Look inside my soul. I'm not afraid. Come to me with all you got again. What was the inspiration to write the song? I'm sorry.
So I was not the most popular kid in school, and I went through some years of bullying. And the big concept for the song came from, we had this song. I wrote this song with two other people,
Hmm.
um, out in California. And when we wrote the song, we had that chorus, bum 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 bum, and we knew that we wanted to say something about face. That's all we knew, and we were like bum 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 face, and we were singing that for about a year,
Mm,
until we kind of had an opportunity with the song. So we kind of like went into crunch time, and I realized the everything about the song was very empowering. So I kind of wanted to write an empowering anthem,
mm,
and I started to draw on my own memories of being bullied and having to deal with that, and what kind of inspiration I received from the people in my life. Thank God I was able to come home to a safe environment, and home was a place where I was safe, and I was able to confide in my parents what was happening at school. And
mm.
I'm very grateful for how my parents dealt with it. And there were a lot of times where I wish they would just come into school and stop it. And every time I would just sit there and complain about it, my parents would say, "What do you want us to do? Come into school and just stop it and stay there all day and make sure that nobody says anything to you?" And at the time, it frustrated me a little bit, and it felt like, my parents weren't there for me. But as I grew up, and as I dealt with it, I realized they were helping me more than they would have if
Yeah.
they had come to school and tried to stop it, because they gave me the tools in order to deal with it on my own. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that
Yeah.
really is very, very true. And one of the things that I remember vividly is I was very nervous before I left to camp for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my first time being away from my parents for an extended period of time. And my father sat me down before, like the night before I left off to camp, and he said, you just got to roll with the punches. You got to be easygoing and just, let things bounce off your chest. And that was really some of the best advice I've ever gotten. And that's really where the whole song stemmed from, is that you got to roll with the punches, just keep moving, and you are different. Everyone worries, especially as a kid, you're so worried about being different. You want to fit in, you want to be part of the cliques, you want to make sure that everyone thinks that you're cool. And then once you get out of school, everyone's trying to be different. Nobody wants to be the same.
Yeah. Well, you got to be different if you're on social media. What makes you different than the next person?
Mm-hmm. Can't all be the same. So really just trying to enforce people, hey, it's okay to be different. It's not just okay, it's your superpower. And that's really where the whole idea for My Faith came from.
Absolutely. No, that's beautiful. And it definitely is a catchy anthem. So what is your music vision for the next 5 years?
I don't know about for the next 5 years. That's quite a long time. My
I was
music
going to
tastes
say 10, but I slashed it in half. Come on, give me something.
My music tastes are constantly evolving. I'm always listening to different things, and
Yeah.
the things that I'm liking are changing. For right now, I'm very into swing jazz, on all different types of swing jazz, electro swing jazz, regular, like big band from
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. So that's where a lot of my inspiration is coming from now. And definitely this era of my music, I would say for the next year or so, is very upbeat, very optimistic, where in the past I've kind of been a little more pessimistic, a little more cerebral.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot more feeling. A majority of my music in the past has been a little more thought provoking and more involved with, things that were just bouncing around in my head and things
Mm-hmm.
that I just needed to get out of my head and onto a
Yeah.
paper. My life has changed a lot in the last year.
Yeah.
And you said something before about we're not so much raising our children as we're just going through this journey together and we're learning together. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've learned from her is that everything's great. She's just such a happy baby, and everything is just always great, and she's having a blast, and she's learning all these new things all the time, and it makes everything really, really easy to deal with in life, and it makes everything seem better.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my music that's coming out now is reflecting of that. Obviously, Letter to My Child is a very emotional song,
Yeah.
and I still got some doozies in the chamber, but for the most part, very, very upbeat, very uplifting.
Yeah. We need that. Our kids listen to all different kinds of modern, hip hop, pop music, and there's so much at their fingertips. Let's have jazz, whatever it is. Let's have music that they can actually, that's cool and funky to listen to, but actually has empowering messages at the same time. So I can't wait to see and to hear what you put out in the coming year, in the coming years. Before we end off, please tell my audience how they can find your music, how they can connect with you on social media, and just know more about you as your music industry just evolves.
So you can find my music anywhere you can stream music: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, all of that. You can also find me on social media under Mendel Goldman Music on Instagram, TikTok, and I believe also Twitter, although I don't really use Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you wanna get to know me a little bit more. I'm always open for a DM. You can shoot me a DM. I'm happy to respond and open up a dialogue. I have a lot of people. There are quite a few people who message me and ask me for the meaning of certain songs, and people asking for tips. I'm always happy to share what I know and help evolve the next generation of Jewish music artists. And Jewish music is changing. There's a lot of people who are coming in, and they're writing their own stuff, and everything is coming from the heart. It's just we're not we're I think we're getting past the era where everything is just a pasuk, and we're getting things that are relatable and that It's something that I was starving for as a teenager, is
Mm-hmm.
just something that I can relate to. I didn't relate to whatever pasuk it is that you can think of. Imena nili mili. It's a beautiful saying and it's a beautiful meaning. Hearing that repeated over a 3-minute song, hearing that line just repeated in a different melody over a 3-minute song didn't really mean anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're entering a new era of Jewish music where people are really writing from the heart, and everything is coming from one guy. This guy is writing the song, he's producing the song, he's singing
Mm-hmm.
the song, and you have guys that are already really big who are doing this. Yishai Ribo is huge, and
Yeah.
he's spearheading this new movement. Everything he writes is in Hebrew, but there are guys who are coming with English stuff, and they are.
Yeah.
And this is the new wave, and I'm happy to help anyone who's coming up. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer a DM.
Fantastic. I like how you're connecting with your audience, you're connecting with your fans. That's really a way how to move forward and just make it personal. It's not just like you said, it's just not just a song that went out, but it's like, or that has been produced. But actually, I can act the person who produced it, who wrote the music, I can relate to him. I understand his words. I'm going through a similar thing, and that really is an uplifting for me. And I can talk to him if I want to, just a quick DM. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I mean, I do have an ulterior motive. I do just want people to like me, but
Okay. Got it. All
no,
right. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. It's been a
no problem.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And best of luck with the rest of your career.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode. If you are loving the Spark by Hollywood podcast, kindly leave me a 5-star review on the platform that you're listening on. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Sparked by Hollywood. That's where the conversations happen. That's where I give you extra content on all my episodes, and where you can send me your feedback, your comments, and questions. And finally, in a world where we are all enamored by the spark of Hollywood and its celebrities, always remember your own spark that you carry within you, that makes you the gift that the world needs to shine that much brighter. I'll catch you in the next episode.